So I talked to my editor, Dave, and being a Brit, he's like every kid's dream is to grow up and be a footballer, and you were very talented. And then at 21, you quit to play poker. What's going on? Can you talk a little bit
Uh,
about
yeah, for me, like it was never a decision if I wanted to become a footballer. It just always was kind of the next step. I started playing at 4 or 5 years old, and then you go academy, and then you go to next level. And when I turned professional at 20, I realized that's an environment I don't uh, feel like I'm fitting in well, and I definitely did not uh, couldn't didn't see myself enjoying the next 15 years of my life. I was good. Um, I was very specific. Similar in poker, I was very high work ethic and very detailed in my approach. So also with football, I would have whatever like trajectory like it goes to, but I was like that didn't really matter what outcome I would go to. I didn't see a way where I would be happy doing that for the next 15 years. Um, and for me, it was very clear. Okay, at the spot where I was, which was Bundesliga at that time in Austria, and that's not where I want to be in my life. Even though I make good money, even though like you have a high social status from playing football, everybody thinks like it's a dream life. It was not for me. So for me, it was like a, a decision that I want to take a step away, see if I miss it, and if I do miss it, I go back, and haven't missed it since.
missed it? Yeah, I read an article about you. So tell, but you also got into poker somewhat. And
Mhm.
I started playing cards with my parents when I was like 12 or something. So
Oh,
you got into poker at an early age, right? I mean, tell me about the evolution of you finding the game and
yeah,
falling
we have
in
something
love.
in common then. I started
Yeah.
playing at 12 as well. It must be 2000. Like I don't really know 2007, 8, or 9 what exactly year.
Yeah.
I do remember I was watching uh, the WCP coverage. We have like a sports channel where it was covered over the summer,
Yeah.
and I was just like so obsessed. Like back then, they still had the November 9, and it was like that was the biggest deal. Like,
Yeah.
and I absolutely loved it. So I started playing on full tilt back in 8 to 9, and I was just playing free rolls because couldn't deposit. And there was the Chris Ferguson challenge. He like turns $0 into $10,000 by playing free rolls on full tilt and documented it. And I was really obsessed. I read every book. I watched literally every video of poker available um, on PokerTube, like all the coachings, and that's what yeah, I spent my time in those two or 3 years, and after 2 or 3 years of grinding the free rolls, I managed to build up a bankroll, and then had a huge spin up. I went from like a couple hundred. Because in free rolls you win $1 and then you sit at the 1 cent 2 cent table and grind it up, and I did that I think for 2 or 3 years every single day.
Wow.
And yeah, and then right before Black Friday, there must be April um,
2013.
2011, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I managed to win a couple tournaments in a row, and I went from like a few $100s to I think 35 or $40,000. I cashed out half of it, and then I had still money on the Black Friday. Lucky enough, I don't know if you remember, Full Tilt came back for a month after Black Friday,
Yeah.
before they finally got shut down. And in the time, I got all my money out. And
Great.
yeah, that was 2011. Full Tilt was gone. And yeah, at this point, I was still 13 or 14. So I didn't, uh,
Wow.
I couldn't withdraw it to my account, but I was playing under my mom, and somehow Full Tilt didn't care.
That's really cool. What did you have a? I went to the Full Tilt offices when they first started. They were like down the
Wow.
street here in LA, right? They're just like 5 or 6 guys.
Wow.
So tell who were your favorite players to watch at the time when you were coming up, watching these guys and
I mean,
girls.
obviously Ivy, like back then, especially where if I remember correctly, made the 2008 final table again or 2009, and it's just like him being, uh, and yeah, him being such a like with high stakes poker and like such a character, is just but was my by far favorite player. And then like Peter Eastgate, Joe Carter, like all the main event winners because they were portrayed as such heroes. It was just, yeah, it was very easy to get excited.
No, Joe Cott is a good man. Have you met Joe? Have you met Joe playing out there? Have you played with him?
Um, I'm not sure actually. I believe it feels like I did because I've played a couple of summers in Vegas and he literally plays everything.
He
Like for
does.
me, the sickest story was where I think he ends up sixth place in the main event in 2021 or 22.
Oh, after a few years after winning. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that must be like just a few years ago. And then Reg, the $1,500 closer and wins it for 500K the same day, which is absolutely, yeah, that is work ethic, and he really shows up every summer.
No, it's pretty man. Watching somebody like Sean Deeb, I've not worked with a lot of these guys for the last 20
Yeah,
years. Anonymous, Sean Deeb, and his work
yeah,
ethic. And, he'll play a $400 event, then jump in a $100,000 event. So it's just kind
yeah,
of wild. And
yes,
Becker's doing a little bit of that now. He's interesting to follow. Becker, his
yeah,
career. Um,
yes.
so tell me more about. I'll pull up some of my questions here. What you were learning along the way. I mean, you're 14 and 15. That's crazy. And obviously, I've played sports at a pretty high level too. Your work ethic there has to take up a lot of time. Then you got school. So how
Yeah.
are you doing? How are you doing all this at one time and still playing the 1 cent, 2 cent game?
I remember at a phase where on Folded you win a free roll ticket, and sorry, a ticket, the Daily Dollar on Folded it was called. It started
Okay.
at 2:30 a.m. in Austrian time. So like whenever I cashed the free roll during the day and I got the ticket, I set my alarm to 2:30, spin up a stack to make sure I get in the money. And once I had a stack high enough to get in the money for sure, I sign off, go back to bed because I had school like a couple hours later. So like I only played like the first 2 or 3 hours of each tournament, try to spin it up. And I did that like so many times, just setting my alarm at 2 or 3 in the morning. And yeah, I was obsessed with both. And then at some point, like football took more over. I mean, football was always the highest priority. Like I did it in a way where I didn't sacrifice my ability to focus on the sports. Otherwise, I could not be
Right.
professional. Um, but yeah, I just really loved it. I was really obsessed. I would call it like, looking back, it's like a very ambitious hobby.
Yeah.
I was not professional, but it was very, very. And early on, like I met Hannes, which is a friend of mine in Vienna. And when Feder moved to Vienna, Hannes was also his first friend in Vienna. So
Yeah.
I got to in the Vienna poker circle very early. Like I was playing with Hannes and Fedor when I was 14 or 15, like playing Sunday sessions at Hannes' house.
Yeah.
And there I was just exposed to the to a very very strong group of players.
That is Strand Group. I love Fedor and the way he plays.
Yeah,
So football. So I understand. I've changed. I changed. What I wanted to be a quarterback, a golfer,
yeah.
all these things when you're growing up. So was football the main vision that you saw yourself? Or you just were kind of open to what came your way, like poker did.
No, it was football, definitely. Like I always was very interested in business and economics, like running my own business. I always loved it. Like I saw poker as kind of my own business. So I was always a little bit tempted by that, but it was never really a. That's the thing where that's why I dragged it on so long because like at any stage of my life in football, it was very clearly the next step to take the next step in college. Like for example, you can probably compare it when you're one of the best players in high school and you get a free ride scholarship to like a SEC school. Obviously, you're gonna take it. So you're in the SEC school, you're one of the top players, and then you get drafted. Obviously, you're gonna accept the NFL
Right.
draft, and this is very similar was the situation. And it was never like, hey, do I actually want this, or do I actually want to spend 25 years of that in my life doing this? Because it was for everybody else, it was always like, okay, it's very clear. This is the best move to do. For me, it
Right.
was not uh, so clear when I actually thought about it because I simply just did not enjoy it. Like I liked playing football, but I didn't like playing football 9 times a week. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
You couldn't make your own schedule playing football. You can sort of do that with poker.
yeah.
So was there one like magic or a moment or a click in your brain and goes, I'm playing poker. That's what I'm going to do. Was there one
Oh,
wake up call?
yeah. Yeah, it was not a decision football or poker at all back then. It was a decision not football, and I have no idea what else. That was the decision point. So it was not a either or. It was a I have no idea, and I didn't jump into poker right away. It was more like, hey, I quit football, then I traveled a bit, then I played more poker because I had more time and it filled the space, and it slowly filled the space more and more. Like I was playing like ambitious hobby, like thinking I was better than I actually was.
That's normal.
Um,
That's normal.
yeah, and just playing for like 2 or 3 years, and then I would say early 2020, uh, I actually started to make big jumps in the quality of a player I was.
Right. Let's just look at my questions here. You become hugely successful with almost 10 million in winnings, and in Triton events alone. What was there a turning point there? My editor mentioned Grindhouse in 2021. Can you talk a bit about
Yeah.
the evolution there?
So the Grindhouse was basically I had a group of friends of mine. Like we knew each other from football. None of them were really ambitious poker players, just liked poker. And we played one scoop together because Feda is like, hey, do you want to play scoop together? I was like, sure. And then Feda and I planned it. It's like, hey, I have this group of friends who they're not really good at poker, but they're really fun. So we rented a house and spent a week together. We didn't barely play any poker, but we had a lot of fun. And then the idea was born to like, what if we do that for like 2 months? And Poker Code was founded at that time. It was like, what if we document that to see if you can take a random group of players to turn them into winning players, which is part of the Poker Code coaching concept, and it fits the marketing well. So we did that for 2 months, and then we had Matthias Eibinger and Feder Holtz covering that and like guiding us and like, hey, learn these things. And we were maybe, I don't know, 10 guys. And we had amazing fun over the summer. And it was crazy because we didn't spend that much time on actually studying, but we understood, okay, what does it actually take to become better at poker? What are the routines? What things to focus on? And that was really the starting point. Like if you now look at my online graph, it was very like slightly winning, and then afterwards it was just like, and literally everyone in the group became a professional afterwards. They're all very, very successful. And this was, I would say, the first 9 months after that. I was kind of not publicly known, but like in the online scene known because I was playing all the high stakes. I had a very successful year, Roland as well. I won the Scoop main event and then a few other high stakes online tournaments. And then, yeah, and end of 2022, it was the decision, okay, what's next? And then I would say Triton and high stakes live tournaments would be the next part.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention in a
Yeah,
second. What during that period? Because I remember that poker code period when Fedor
yeah,
was doing that. What were
yeah,
some of the major points that were like you turn the corner in your game? What maybe you could share a
yeah,
few, not really secrets, but things that
yeah,
you learned that helped you go, okay, I can do this for a living. Maybe a
yeah,
couple points of what you learned during that time period.
yeah. It was the main thing because you mentioned that there are no secrets in tournament poker. Like literally anything you need to know is publicly available.
Yeah.
Like it's not about getting access to the secrets. It's about taking whatever is there and actually trying to implement it, because there you don't need someone to be like, hey, this is the secret. But what it's helpful is to filter out the information from the noise. And that is the core concept that we worked with Fedor and Matthias closely. Okay, what are the things to focus on actually? What are the most important things? Like, for example, it's probably most important to play heads up really well, because if you're a tournament player, that is the biggest pay jump. The difference between 1 and 2 is huge. So, like, if you win your heads up more often, this will have the biggest boost in your ROI. And then if you break the game down, for example, most of MTTs, maybe 80% is just pre-flop, making good pre-flop decisions. And pre-flop is not hard, it's just studying it and understand the ranges. And this part you just need to play perfect. There is no negotiable, this just needs to be nailed. And then post-flop. And then, okay, flop is more important than turn. Turn is more important than river, because it just happens more frequently. So like whatever mistake you make on the flop just occurs more often than whatever mistake you might do on the river. So like breaking this down and like splitting it into buckets to individually focus on and attacking the most important parts first, because otherwise it's just so overwhelming. It's just really helpful. And also very for me was huge, just like see firsthand like how Federer's thinking about the game. And because I had beliefs that were limiting myself, it was like, where like I always played really tight, I didn't want to lose chips, and like he was playing the complete opposite. And I was like, hey, okay, I need to rethink how I think about the game. And yeah, that just completely changed everything.
No, that was a brilliant summary. I love that. So when you won the scoop, when did you start to focus on live play? So when did you
Um,
get into it and say, I want to go out and play live?
I always played live. I think the first tournament in 2016, and I played like mid to high stakes.
Okay.
And then it was more of a conscious decision. Okay, what do live high stakes mean? And Feder was just obsessed with Tritons. He said like it's the best experience. And obviously, from a viewer perspective, just watching it is like, oh my god, these guys are so good, and like, it feels intimidating. But he's like, no, trust me, you need to go there. You're good enough. So it's easier to follow. In these regards, it's just if you have someone who you can lean on, and made it for all of us, like whoever is playing these events now, makes it just so much easier to go as the second person than the first person.
Right.
And then there was a decision, okay, what point will we play one of these events? And the first time was Vietnam 2023. It just came up. The Asia spots are always great. And then we're like, okay, let's test it. Let's see how it goes. And then I flew there. I sat down. I was like, hey, I absolutely love everything about this. Like from playing, from arriving, like the hotel, the stuff, the setup, the structure of the tournament. It's just really, it's so special and exciting. It's just really uncomparable to any other live tournament. And I was hooked from the like, okay, I definitely want to be doing this for as long as possible. And I had a great start in Vietnam. I think or like a semi-great, because I played 8 tournaments. I cashed 4. I got like 10th, 11th, 14th, and 15th. So like all kind of quite close calls. And then I played the Cyprus one in May and didn't cash anything there. And then in October 2023 was when Monaco was started, and that's kind of my that was my first big, I would say, live success, where I had a crazy month because I won the GG Millions, the 10K, like I think the day before I flew to Monaco. So I was like, hey, let's go. And then I arrived there. The first event we played was the 200K Invitational, which was by far the biggest. I think the biggest one before was 100K in Vietnam. And I finished second, unfortunately second, because like I was chip leading. I think I eliminated most of the players on the final table, and then I had a 3-1 chip advantage against Dan Smith in the heads up, and I couldn't convert it to a win. So I was really bummed, because like that would have been like the pinnacle for me to win a Triton event. And the crazy part about it is I won literally the next tournament I played was the 40K Mystery Bounty. It was like the day afterwards it started. And yeah, I just went on a superheater and then managed to win it just 2 days later.
No, I saw that. I've known Dan. Dan's a great player for
Yeah.
a long time. So talk just a couple more things. I don't want to keep you too long. We'll get into coin poker in a second.
Yeah.
But you made me think of something. So how important is the mindset? Obviously, you did very well coming into there. You're like, you feel strong, you feel confident, you play second to Dan, a little bummer, but the next day you won. How important do you find carrying that momentum and mindset, and how do you keep that mindset as you go along? Do you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
John?
Yeah.
To
It's
stay
like
positive and confident.
yes, it is. Like there is a thing where like you're not getting more lucky or like a run good, but definitely if you're winning, you are more comfortable in decision, and I fully believe that. That if you are winning and comfortable, you make overall better decision, which leads to better results. And I specifically remember that because I think just a month later was the one drop event, and I cashed for I think 4 or 5 million in Monaco, and I was like, okay, I can organize to play this event, and I would love to play it. So organized, I sold pieces, and I played it. And at this phase, I was like, okay, I was at the peak of my game. I was like also comfortable, and I had the feeling, okay, I arrived at the high stakes scene, because when you start out, you kind of want to prove yourself, and you're unsure like how good the others are. And now I got the understanding of like how good everybody else is, and it's like, okay, I can fit in here, or I have a good way of judging myself, and I feel like I fit in. And the same was like at the one drop, where like, hey, I just like that. It sounds weird, but I didn't care what the result of the one drop is. For me, it was just like, just playing the event itself was for me the accomplishment, because I always wanted to reach that. I didn't care if I cashed or won, or I just wanted to enjoy it. And it is a very interesting, like if you're in a headspace of you enjoy it, and you are well prepared, and you're comfortable, confident, then you just like are in a state where you can make adjustments or decisions, which if you're anxious or on the downswing or unconfident, you might not be bold enough to make those. And I definitely felt that in other spots where like on the day one of the one drop, I folded. I made the biggest fold in the biggest pot that I've ever played in my life, against Dan Smith, who beat me in the heads up. And I still don't know if it's right or wrong, but it just felt like in the moment, it's like, okay, I need to make this fold. And it was after day one, and we both had about 1.8 and 1.6 million chips. And the crazy part is like 1.8 million chips in the one drop is actually $1.8 million, because you get exactly $1 million. So they're worth that. So I was chip leader after the first like 4 or 5 levels, the last few hands. And I raised under the gun. I go for it quickly. I raised under the gun. Dan Smith 3 bets to 11 big blinds, which is 110,000. So we're 180 and 160 blinds deep. I call, and then flop is he's 3 bets from the small one. At flop is ace 5 2. He c-bots 150,000. I call. Turn is a 4. It goes check check, no flush draws, and the river is a 9. I have pocket 9s. So it's ace 5 4, ace 5 deuce 4, 9. And then he bets out 180,000, which is a third pot. I raise to 700, and then he ships it for 1.6 million.
Wow.
And I remember it's like, I was glad it was not on stream, because on stream you kind of don't want to make those crazy folds, but it's just like everything in me is like, hey, this is aces and nothing else. And if he bluffs this spot, it's just everything. But it's very hard to make those if you're not in the right state of mind. That is the and I ended up folding. He never told me what he had. It's still to this day, I don't know. I also don't want to know if I got bluffed there.
You don't want to know? You should take him to dinner or buy him a bottle of wine or something.
I offered that. He refused. I told him, hey, what? He never told me. But like everything in me told me, hey, this is like, this only makes sense, and I don't see enough bluffs to make this a call.
Yeah.
And I think that is important. So if someone is like on a heater, I think that plays into it, where, okay, this decision is very hard if you're not comfortable and if you're not set. And this is just an example of like many micro decisions that you might make along the way. So it is very crucial to be, confident and confident.
No, that's a great explanation. So, where to wrap it up a little bit, a few more questions.
Yeah.
Where are you going to play this winter? Tell us your schedule for December right now.
So I'll be flying to Bahamas tomorrow. I'll be playing the Triton Million on Saturday. I think it's on the 7th. So it's the 500,000 plus 500,000 with the VIP and the Pro, and then the rest of the series. I think they have the huge main event, and then I think 2 more Triton events, and then that's it for December. And then I'll be playing again in Jeju end of February, where the next Triton series will be.
Okay. So I just read and I saw, and I know these guys. I want to start to sign up myself. So you're a
Yeah,
coin. You just became a coin poker ambassador. Can you tell me
yeah,
first? Are you a lot of players? I just did a long interview with Brian Rast.
yeah,
Obviously, Brian's very much into cryptocurrency. Have you
yeah.
always been into crypto? Is something new to you? Tell me a little bit about that.
So generally, crypto, I think most poker players are exposed just from playing. Like there's so many use cases you can use crypto for. Like if I go to the Bahamas or Vegas, I can buy in with crypto. So I was exposed to crypto quite early. With coin poker, the focus is on making on utilizing crypto, and but also we're gonna implement fiat, so it will be both. Because also some people who don't want to use crypto should also have the option to play. The setup with coin poker came along is coin poker got acquired about half a year ago. Have a new ownership, really sharp guys who uh, who wanted someone on board to just from a player's perspective and just be connected to the player base. And I think that's really important, to listen to the players, to listen to the players' feedback. And for example, with the proof of reserves, where I told them, hey, the main concern would be with crypto, everything you don't really fully trust it. So you need to make it like the big exchanges. You need to be verifiable that if they deposit, the funds are there; they're not somewhere else. And uh, what it was with Full Tilt back in the day. So I suggested to make a public proof of reserves, and they implemented in just 3 weeks. And the nice thing is to work with them is they're moving fast and quickly and make quick decisions, and listen to the players' feedback. And it's been great to work with them. I think um, there will be a lot of improvements, especially from the product side, where the product is good. Um, but obviously, like if you compare it to GG Poker, which has an outstanding product, there's room to improve, and that's where a lot of the resources go into at the moment. To hopefully in a year and a half, we will have an outstanding product and a really good marketing side. And I think if both plays well into a role, then Coin Poker has a real shot at being a real contender, for being the place for players to play poker on.
No, great. I want to check it out myself. So, last thing, what's next for you?
Yeah.
What's on your radar? You seem like a very goal-oriented person. You want to achieve certain things. What's next for you,
Mhm.
both in poker and in your life next year?
Mm, I'm getting married next year, so that's a
Oh,
big one.
congratulations! Congratulations.
Thank you. And in poker, I don't have a goal at the moment. And I am a very goal oriented person. And I realized that if I set myself the goals,
Yeah.
that I have a harder time enjoying the process. And I always find I've kind of sad, like reaching a goal and not having enjoyed the process of it. So I specifically don't want to set a goal and have the goal be like, hey, just like I know this is rare to go to the Bahamas with your friends at a young age and play a crazy buy-in tournament. And I don't want this to be normal and don't want this to be just a next step. I want this to be a memorable experience, and I want to focus on that. I think I wish I would have done and learned that earlier, and be more mindful there. But now, obviously, I'm aware that comes more with success, and the more secure you are in your space, also in the in the poker world. But I think that's for me a big thing that I want to focus on over next years. And I do enjoy it. I love it. I love playing, and whatever happens, happens. Kind of deal.
No, I love it, man. I appreciate your
Mhm.
time. Thanks for finally catching up to me and being patient. Good luck this whole series.
Thank you so much.